Jadwin Gymnasium, the site. Princeton and Cornell just about set to tip things off as they introduce Brian Earl, the former Princeton Tiger, to the fans here at Jadwin. While we have an opportunity, let's take a look at the Big Red lineup. The guards this evening will be Troy Whiteside along with Robert Hatter, the explosive Matt Morgan, the Ivy League leader in scoring, and JoJo Fallis. Rounding out matters, the forward, Stone Gettings, who's playing very well as of late for the Big Red. As we take a look at Brian Earl, the head coach in his first season with the Big Red, formerly a Princeton assistant for 9 years, also one of the great players in Princeton history as well, as he'll look to grab a win here at Jadwin and break this 9-game winning streak for the Tigers. Their starting lineup this evening, the guards will be Devin Canny alongside Miles Stevens, the forwards Spencer Weiss, Steve Cook, who is 1 point away from 1,000 for his career, and Pete Miller. And of course, Coach Earl will be opposed by his one-time teammate, Mitch Henderson, in his 6th season with the Princeton Tigers.
Number 31, Pete Miller.
As we get you set for the tip here in just a few moments. And while we have a chance here, let's take a look at the standings in the Ivy League. And Noah, Princeton's 9-game winning streak has put them on top of the Ivy League.
Yeah, and the other thing to watch is to be who's going to sneak in potentially to that 4th spot. So Brown and Cornell certainly feel like they still have a chance to get into the tournament, and Columbia and Harvard certainly want to hold on to those 3 and 4 spots so they have a chance to play at the Palestro.
Cornell, one of those teams at the 2 and 4 spot, certainly keeping things alive for them in that race for the 4th and final seed.
Yeah, and that's the argument for having the tournament, is that you don't lose interest after the first time in the league. And as a former player in the league, I can tell you that you would play teams the first time through the league that convinced themselves they could win a championship, and then you'd play them the next time, and you'd be like, what, have these guys booked their tickets to Cancun for spring break? I mean, this is a different team, and I think it's really a great thing the league has done to put in the tournament, and now you're going to get the best shot of every team all the way through the regular season. And for anybody who thinks it diminished the regular season's value, you weren't up at Harvard, Princeton last weekend. You weren't at Columbia, Harvard in New York City. These kids want to win every single game just as much as they did before, and probably more.
The opening tap here was won by the Tigers, but they stopped play 6 seconds in, and now they will resume matters.
All right, something to watch as the game goes on is number 13 for Cornell, Stone Gettings, who's probably the league's most improved player. But he's a guy that when Princeton goes small, they're going to try to exploit his mobility because he's really a true 4 or 5 man. Yeah, he can shoot the 3, but on the defensive end, he might be where Princeton looks to attack.
And right off the bat, he started out well with a defensive stop there and a rebound off of Pete Miller.
Yeah, and he's coming off a monster game where he had 28 points and 8 rebounds. And when I was talking to Coach Henderson before the game, getting a little scouting report, he said, well, no, he's like you. He's big, not totally mobile, great 3 right there deep for Matt Morgan. But offensively, he's like a big guy who shoots the 3, and that's going to be something that Cornell looks to utilize on the offensive end.
Matt Morgan is 36% from deep this year, showing his wares early on. Steve Cook from the right corner drives with the left hand, looking for his 1,000th point, misses the layup, too strong. He did not score on Tuesday night against Penn.
And you wonder if he's just trying to get over the hump and get that milestone done with, because he was scoring easily until that Penn game.
Morgan again, this time it's short, and Kennedy looking to run for the Tigers. 3-0 lead for the Big Red. Thanks for joining us this evening on the Ivy League Digital Network and ESPN3 as Spencer Weiss hits a 3-pointer, and he has been on fire as of late. 22 points on Tuesday night against the Quakers.
I think 4 threes in the first half. It should have been 5. He had his foot on the line on the 2-point shot. He's been absolutely taking over games with the shooting recently.
Weiss with the ball, throws it into the post area, gets deflected out of bounds, stays with Princeton.
And what this does for Princeton and for Weiss is that now every time, if he's making that shot under duress, every time he looks at the basket, Cornell has to respect him and he can get into the lane. And we've seen his playmaking ability, but when he shoots the ball, it just makes him that much more dangerous. and it doesn't make, he can be your grandfather's speed, but if he can shoot it like that, he can get around anybody because they have to respect his shot.
Cook, wing near side. Tigers working with under 10 seconds left on the shot clock. To 5 with Weiss. Cook, layup is good, and there it is. Steve Cook tops the 1,000-point marker for his Princeton career, the 32nd player in Tigers history to go over 1,000 points and join the 1,000-point club.
And he joins his teammate Spencer Weiss, who went over that mark earlier this season.
5-3. Near steal there by Miller. Gettings retrieves. Fallis now.
And Miller's been starting the game for Princeton and then pretty much going to the bench for a lot of the game. Now, some of that is because of the dominance of Princeton. But I think that Miller knows he's going to play a little bit more limited minutes than he has in the past, and he's trying to make something happen on the defensive end.
His time has been really limited, as Noah just alluded to, playing under 5 minutes in some cases in the last few games. The spin there on the reverse by Stevens towards the baseline, and we'll get a foul.
And Cook has just been unbelievable in so many facets of the game, and right here just walks in for an easy backdoor layup. But Cook leads the league in steals. He's among the league leaders in three-point percentage. He gets blocks, he gets big-time dunks, and of course, he was the hero up in Cambridge with a miraculous rebound off a free throw miss by Miles Stevens, and he had the game winner against Harvard.
Hatter 3, that rattles out. A Weiss rebound.
You know, talking to Coach Earl before the game, he said that Cornell hasn't struggled to get open shots, and early on, he's been 100% right. They're getting open shots every time.
Oh, and we'll get a foul here against Cook. He elbowed inadvertently Robert Hatter, and that will be the first foul.
Yeah, good call right there. You got the chicken wing extended, and you know that's why when you drive, coaches really stress that long lunge to get head and shoulders around, so you don't get into any extra behaviors there. But Hatter, good job to stick his nose in there.
That's the first foul against Cook. Hook shot by Gettings misses. A Kennedy board. Tie game at 5.
I mean, you can see the Princeton influence right there, going with the old school one-footed hook, something that's coached around these parts.
Weiss, left of the lane, now in the lane, turns around and scores. Spencer Weiss working hard for the bucket there, and it's a 7-5 Princeton lead.
Yeah, what he did right there was take his time at the end. He knew he had one-on-one, and he kind of squared up and took that little half-jump hook.
Gettings, top of the arc. In trouble. Now finds Morgan. Has to scurry back to get the basketball.
And this play will be good for Cornell. Morgan working with Gettings on a pick and pop.
Fallis, contested 3, missing off to the right. And the ricochet to Kennedy.
Yeah, and Gettings just had to have his feet set. He had a three-point shot there, but he wasn't ready.
Stevens left of the lane. Working against Whiteside. The one-handed runner is in. Miles Stevens taking Troy Whiteside to the paint and scoring. 4-point lead for the Tigers.
And you got to love having a player like that if you're Coach Henderson, where you don't really need to coach him that much in the post. You just put him down there, and he gets into the lane, jumps, and kind of decides in the air. Ooh, almost a travel there.
Whiteside on the drive, can't finish, too strong. Cook skying in the air for the loose ball.
A nice job to maintain verticality right there by Weiss to not foul.
Dumped into Miller. Miller working against Gettings. Hook shot scored. Pete Miller.
Hey, it's a hook shot-a-thon right now. I love it. I mean, we got sky hooks. This is the most sky hooks I've seen in 10 years.
11-5 now the count.
And that's the ultimate if you can't jump, move.
It's an 8-0 run for the Tigers.
Nice.
That is broken up by Robert Hatter's layup.
But if you can master that classic sky hook, even if you can't jump, if you get any kind of edge, you can get a shot off in the post. And it's great to see these young guys using that move.
Miller with the dish to Weiss. Stevens now, baseline attack on Gettings. Can't score, but a foul on the way against Stone Gettings. as we head to our first media stop of the contest. 13:48 left to go. It's 11-7 as Princeton up by 4 thanks to an 8-2 run. This is the Ivy League Digital Network and ESPN3. More from Jadwin after this. For the Princeton Tigers over Cornell, Derek Jones and the former Princeton Tiger Noah Savage with you this evening. Brian Earl, longtime assistant and former Tigers player, one of the greats in the program's history.
Yeah, and teammate of Mitch Henderson on one of the most special teams in Ivy League history that went 27-2, was ranked in the top 10 most of the year. Their 2 losses came against UNC. Now that's Vince Carter, Antoine Jameson, UNC, and then in the tournament in the second round against Michigan State. And what's interesting about that team is that Goodrich and Gabe Llewellyn were first-team All-Ivy League, and Mitch Henderson and Brian Earl were actually second-team. So they had 4 guys on the first team and second team. The next year, when Henderson was gone, Brian Earl was the Ivy League Player of the Year on a team that actually went to the NIT. But when Brian Earl graduated, he was the all-time leader in three-point makes in league history for many years until a guy named Ryan Whitman came to Cornell and then destroyed the record book. And a guy I played against, where I said, man, I'm jealous of this guy's green light. This guy is ready and willing to fire, but with good reason. I mean, he is all over the Cornell record book.
The drive there by Morgan and the score after the pair of free throws by Miles Stevens. It's a 4-point lead for Princeton.
And Will Gladson into the game for Princeton, the big, wide freshman center, but no help at all for the Princeton defense that time on the drive.
Another freshman in, checking Gladson. It's Josh Warren.
And what Gladson brings to the table for the Princeton Tigers is that he can shoot the 3-ball really well. He's a big, wide, classic center, but then he steps out and shoots it.
Shot too strong there by Stevens, and the loose ball out to the Big Red. Left wing 3, that one's up, too strong. The rebound corralled by Gettings. Morgan stripped down the floor with a pass for Weiss. Weiss on the run. He gets stripped by the quick hands of Matt Morgan, and what a defensive play there by Morgan. It goes off the leg of Weiss, out of bounds. Cornell ball.
Yeah, nice hustle by Morgan. He drove, he got stripped by Weiss, and then nice. Really could have been off Morgan at the last second, but really nice hustle to swipe and go low. And I got to give props to the officials when they're great. I mean, that time they let him play. They didn't anticipate. Nice up and under. Kevin McHale.
Going with the bank, Stone Gettings.
I mean, how good is he? He's posted career highs in every single statistical category this season. He's number 9 in the league in scoring. He's number 13 in rebounds. He's 6th in blocks. And for some reason, he moved from Malibu, his hometown, to Ithaca to go to Cornell. He must have loved the program because I've been to Malibu, and I'm not leaving there.
Gladson with a hook shot with the left hand. That's no good. Yeah, that's some dedication right there, no question about it.
Wow.
Morgan, heat check 3 is good. Matt Morgan from well beyond NBA range pops a 3, and Cornell grabs a 1-point lead.
And he's making exactly 3 a game coming into this contest, leading the league. And just to give that some context, usually the league leader hovers around 2.6, 2.7. So he's really prolific when you factor in that every team knows he wants to get those up there.
Weiss trying to back down Morgan. Picks up his dribble. Now Stevens. Stevens with a drive, and this is going to be a foul against Stone Gettings.
And that might be the one Achilles heel when you look at Stone Gettings, is that you can drag him out onto the perimeter, and then the foot speed might not be there. That's on tough. I mean, he's pretty vertical. Tough call against him, but he's playing well early. He'll probably have to go to the bench for a little bit.
Back and forth play here on both ends. Matt Morgan popping a 3 to give Cornell a lead of 1. More from Jadwin after this. Of 1 for the Big Red. Derek Jones and Noah Savage with you this evening from Jadwin Gymnasium. And early on, Matt Morgan has been a pretty active shooter here for the Big Red, Noah.
Yeah, and he was held somewhat in check against Yale and Brown with 11 points and 10 points respectively, but I think he's out for absolute blood and devastation early tonight And I like his recognition. That time he came around the handoff. He's not just settling for threes, but he knows how to find an open shot, and certainly a great time to shoot a threes in transition. And you know that his teammates trust him. They know how to find him with those little flip passes.
8 points so far, 3 of 4 from the field, including a couple of three-pointers. He broke the Ivy League record for scoring by a freshman last season.
Yeah, that's something, a trend that we're seeing more of in the last few years. Of course, Doug Davis came into Princeton ready and willing to score, and then Matt Morgan did it. I mean, the more and more freshmen are just playing early, and kind of, I think that's some of the influence of the AAU circuit, where you're out there, you're playing against nationally ranked players every weekend. You get to college, and you've got an extra 100 games under your belt where you're not really looking at the college competition as anything intimidating or anything different.
And you saw last year with Cornell when Morgan came in, he was not shy about shooting the rock at all.
Right, and even his classmate, but at Dartmouth, Evan Boudreau, he's second in the league in scoring, just a sophomore. He came in ready.
Richmond Ariri Guzzo comes up with a steal. He's reporting into the game for the first time. Weiss three, good. Spencer Weiss showing he can knock him down from the outside as well. Tigers all of a sudden up by 4, answering with 5 in a row.
Yeah, Weiss, the reigning co-player of the Ivy League, and with the week he's having, he's on pace for a back-to-back potentially. I mean, he was so sensational down at the Palestra on Tuesday.
Pass dumped into the post. Going up, dropping it in almost with the left hand, missing is Warren. Loose ball out of bounds, and it will go to Princeton.
But Weiss, I mean, right here, football check, get your teammate out of the way, just like you drew it up, and then stop behind him. This is such a great shot to take in transition when the point guard will push in and just flip it back to you. As a shooter, it's hard to find a better rhythm than that, stepping right into it.
Just under 10.5 left to go.
And Amir Bell for Princeton, he had a really rough, as you see another one, he's on fire.
Weiss again from the corner.
But we saw Amir Bell really struggle early in the season. He got pulled out of the starting lineup. Devin Kennedy replaced him. And recently he's just played such great basketball. He's so poised up at Harvard. Late in that game. Sorry, Derek.
7-point lead for the Tigers. Another for Weiss.
Oh.
That one misses. And a rebound controlled by Bathurst.
And Weiss has just become that competitor who just wants to win the game on his own. Air ball here.
Gets the loose ball and is fouled in the process by Desmond Fleming. Weiss is all over the place. And this is the time of year, Noah, where you see the seniors in the Ivy League really stand out.
Yeah, and Weiss is a player where he's been through it all, of course. He stepped on campus ready. He's played at Seton Hall Prep, obviously big-time high school basketball. He's ready to go. But also what you see is that when it's in the league, he's a player who gets better in the league because he becomes a slightly above average or average athlete. But some of the pre-conference, he's a little slow. He's a little bit not as fast of foot. But in the Ivy League, he's perfect. He's 6'5". He's a big guard. He's a small forward.
Cook trying to finish, can't. Free throws on the way, though, after the foul. Another foul committed here by the Big Red, who are starting to rack them up here over the last few moments. That's the first foul for Jack Gordon.
I mean, Weiss, just to show you what kind of year he's having, he's 3rd in assists in the league. He's 4th in threes made. He's number 2 in assist-to-turnover ratio. He flirted with a triple-double this year. I mean, it depends on the game. He does whatever it takes for his team to win.
Matt Morgan back in for the Big Red. Kennedy, 3, that's good. Devin Kennedy extending the lead to 10, and this is what Princeton can do with that 3-point shot.
And Cornell needs to make a stand here in terms of the offensive end. They got to get something going. They can't let this turn into a 15 or 20-point lead.
Hatter tries to answer. He can't. Bell with the rebound.
Yeah, just more big guards for Princeton. Everybody pretty much 6'3" and above who play significant minutes.
It's an 11-0 run for the Tigers. Miller back in the mix. It's Miles Stevens. Backdoor feed to Miller. Had it knocked away. A turnover.
Yeah, good idea, but a little bit tough to handle down low.
Whiteside Working against Weiss, turnaround Jay, count it.
Nice strong move by Whiteside, and what he did was kept the ball in the middle of his stance where there was no chance to reach around and knock that away. That was really good fundamentals and good post play.
Over the last 14 games, Whiteside shooting the ball very well, about 60% over that stretch. Bell, three, that's good. Tigers lighting it up from beyond the arc. They are now 5 of 7 from three.
Complete breakdown of transition D by Princeton. They leave the best shooter in the league wide open.
Morgan tried to answer, couldn't do it. The lead at 11 here at 27 to 16. Stevens. Now we'll go to Miller. Miller finding an open shooter. It's Bell. Missed it. And the loose ball, a foul on the way. And this will be against Josh Warren of Cornell to take us into a timeout on the floor. 27-16 lead for the Princeton Tigers, and it's all about the three so far for Princeton. On a big run here to open up an 11-point advantage against the Cornell Big Red. It's the Ivy League Digital Network and ESPN3. More after this. 11-point lead for the Princeton Tigers, 14-2 run for Princeton to build this lead out to 11. Derek Jones and Noah Savage with you this evening as Brian Earl, former Princeton assistant, has not been able to find an answer for this Tigers team. And that's been the case for a lot of clubs as of late, Noah.
Yeah, I mean, Princeton is absolutely en fuego, on fire. They can't lose. They're winning on the road. They're doing everything right. But the story within this is that they lost Henry Caruso, who was supposed to be their best player. They lost Hans Brace, they were supposed to be their big man, to an injury. And they didn't miss a beat. They just kind of kept going. They inserted Miles Stevens into a bigger role. Devin Kennedy came into the starting lineup. They put Amir Bell into kind of a six-man of the year type of role. And they've really hit their stride. And they just found a way to pull victory out of the jaws of defeat last weekend up at Cambridge against Harvard.
Ariri Guzzo trying to drop it in with the right hand. He tipped it in, but I think this is going to be a foul against Ariri Guzzo.
Yeah, over the back right there. He just got a little too anxious once he missed that little tap in right here.
And that's against Stone Gettings, too, who's back in, and he has 2 fouls. That could be a critical matchup here in the next few moments for Cornell. Morgan with speed in the drive. Matt Morgan putting on the Chargers there at the end to get the bucket, 27-18.
Yeah, good fake handoff by Morgan. But again, if you're Princeton, where's the help? There's absolutely nobody under the basket.
Stevens, now Kennedy, baseline, flipping it up at the rim. No good, but another Big Red foul. As Jack Gordon, the Dallas, Texas native, trying to guard Kennedy there, puts him on the free throw line. We saw, as a part of that look at Princeton's season so far, the amount of turnovers Princeton has committed per game, being tops in the Ivy League. That's also number 1 in the nation, too.
Yeah, that's something that, traditionally you have a chance to do here at Princeton, but usually that was because of the slow down type of offense and the tempo. This is not a team that slows it down. It's just one of the things they preach here is we're not going to turn it over. We're going to have solid defense, defend the three-point line, but certainly it's been remarkable to watch, and a lot of that kind of shows you who's handling the ball a lot, and a lot of that is Spencer Weiss, who's among the leaders, as we noted, of assist-to-turnover ratio.
Kennedy gets both, 29-18, the advantage for Princeton. Morgan guarded here by Stevens, and now Riri Guzzo. Whiteside trying to penetrate the defense, lost the grip on the ball. Out to Gettings for 3. He misses. Stevens with a board.
And not the prettiest possession, but that's what you want to end up with if you're Cornell. Gettings, an excellent three-point shooter, had a great look, and was squared up.
Princeton swept the season series between these two teams last year and trying to get off on the good foot in the first meeting. Stevens, right corner 3, off the rim. A rebound taken by Hatter.
And great pass with the left hand along the baseline after the move was made by Ariri Guzzo.
Morgan trying to get by Bell, and it's blocked by Steve Cook, but it will be called goaltending.
I don't know. Can they look at it? Let's see. I don't know. Was it? Did it hit the glass first? Tough angle.
It's a tough call there against Cook.
Oh, yeah, definitely hit the glass first. But, you know, we've seen Cook have those miracle blocks, and last weekend he had a monster block on Bryce Aiken, the freshman. I mean, that was a block party both ways. Harvard has so many shot blockers. It was like a meeting at the rim every time anybody drove.
Kennedy for three again, no good. Loose to Morgan. Morgan trying to get around the defense. Now they'll work it around the arc. Hatter drives and scores.
Nice move, little James Harden lookalike right there by Hatter. But if you're Princeton, now everybody has to be keyed on Morgan. I mean, you should have been coming into the game. He's leading the league in scoring. But now make someone else beat you. And that was a better possession than letting Morgan score again. You say, all right, somebody else, anybody else get a bucket, because this kid has 12 out of the 20 for Cornell.
Just over 5 minutes left to go, first half. 7-point game. Cook spinning. Cook can't finish. Getting's board. And Morgan looking to move it.
Wow.
Great pass ahead, and the layup is good from Troy Whiteside. And a timeout called by Mitch Henderson of the Princeton Tigers. And all of a sudden, Cornell has creeped right back into this, Noah.
Yeah, what a pass. I mean, most players don't even attempt this length of a bounce pass, thread the needle to Whiteside underneath for Matt Morgan. But I think Princeton's got a little bit stagnant. They put in Ariri Guzzo on the offensive end, and he's playing that true center. They've been playing a lot of 5 out with 5 guards, and they haven't had that same rhythm when they were just rolling. And Cornell has just been chipping away, getting a good shot for Morgan, getting a good shot in transition. And as we look at the Cornell Big Reds record, they're a lot better than the record says. I mean, 6 wins, but they had a lead against Harvard. They had a lead against Brown. They had a lead against many teams. They lost a game in overtime in the pre-conference. This could easily be an 11, 12, 13-win team. And having played for Brian Earl in his first year ever as a coach in a season where we won 6 games, you got to feel for the Cornell players, and you know they're sticking with it. And that's all you can do. Show up, get better every game, and then eventually you turn that corner and you start winning games.
Noah, how much of an advantage is it tonight for this Cornell club to have Brian Earl know this personnel so well?
I mean, it's a huge advantage, and it's not like nice three by Steve Cook, but it's not like you don't trust the scouting report to begin with. But, I mean, Coach Earl coached these guys for 3 years. I mean, he knows every single player like the back of his hand.
A drive there by Hatter missing, and Miller with a rebound.
But it's just huge. I mean, at this point, every player in the league knows every other player. I mean, you know their tendencies just from reading about it, watching the film.
Good denial there off the Bell shot. And Morgan down the floor. Morgan contested shot attempt, and a foul coming up against Princeton. And to the dismay of Mitch Henderson.
And I think that was actually Hatter, Derek, but Hatter, he's kind of, I'll make the comparison to James Harden. I mean, he's a lefty, and that time he had nothing, but he just went in there to get the foul. And you know that Cornell wants to play that kind of new age style of basketball where it's open threes in transition, and get to the line. And Hatter's been great. I mean, he had that nice jab maneuver, and then that time going to his right, great Euro step in traffic.
So Hatter good on the first. Warren back in as Hatter looking to grab free throw number 2 here. 71% shooter from the line. Just a few games because of injury.
And Hatter's a guy that you want to be really good friends with if you're on the Cornell team, because he's an applied economics and management major. Now that, I don't know what that is. That's above my intelligence level, but to me, I hear Wall Street, I hear big things. You know, Hatter's going to go on to great things. That's a guy you pull him close after a game and say, hey, buddy, you know, you're going to give me a job one day, right?
Weiss there with the jumper over Hatter. It's a 34-26 lead for Princeton. Cutting to the basket and almost scoring there is Hatter. He'll go back to the line.
I mean, Hatter putting on a clinic of offensive basketball. He's doing it off the dribble in transition. That time, timed it perfectly, the backdoor cut. He has taken over right where Matt Morgan left off.
It is a lead here for the Princeton Tigers, as we'll come back with more here from Jadwin Gymnasium. 34-26, more headed your way right after this. It's Princeton leading with just over 3.5 left to go in the first half. Derek Jones and Noah Savage with you this evening. The series history between these two teams. Princeton with the 144-80 all-time edge. They've won the last 3 meetings, 8 of the last 9. The last win for the Big Red coming back in February of 2015. The Tigers have really controlled the series since that big run Cornell made in the late 2000s and early 2010s.
Yeah, I mean, they went undefeated in the league one of those years. Another year they went to the Sweet 16, and a lot of that was because they had Ryan Whitman and Lewis Dale. Lewis Dale was one of those guards that doesn't matter what you did. He scored on a pick and roll or he got an assist. He was a player of the year. They had 2 players a year on the same team. And really that's kind of like their version of the Princeton late 90s team.
Miller stuck in the lane, pops it back outside to Bell. Shot clock to 10. Bell with a drive and can't get it to go. Miller has the ball for a moment, but then Morgan tracks it down.
I mean, Amir Bell has played so much better in the last, I would say, 9 or 10 games. He started the season 1 for 24 from 3, and since then has made 11 of 20. I mean, he's a completely different person today as he gets a huge rebound than he was in November, December.
No doubt about it, playing with a lot of confidence
And
during this run.
And late in that Harvard game, he was the guy who pretty much said, calm down, everybody, give me the ball. He put the ball on his hip and set up the offense for Princeton. He was a huge reason why they were able to win that game late, just because of his leadership and his body language. That really calmed his team down.
It's Bathurst. Tried to throw a pass there, left of the paint, out of bounds, turnover by the Big Red. That's the 3rd turnover of the night by Cornell. Tigers with Weiss, Kennedy, Bell, Stevens, and Ariri Guzzo, who is seeing some extended time here this evening. Just 7 turnovers in this first half between these two clubs. Of course, Princeton does a very good job, as we noted earlier, of holding on to the basketball. Cornell doing the same here in this first half. Ariri Guzzo hits the side of the backboard. That ball going out of bounds. It will go over to the Big Red.
And that's exactly why, when you watch that post-up, why you post up at the first hash above the block, not right on the block, because he didn't give himself the option to go either way. He started his move to the middle. He went back to the baseline, but he was caught behind the backboard. When you post up a little bit higher off the block, you can go either way and use the glass.
Morgan at the controls. 8-point lead here for the Tigers. Morgan falling to the floor, and he walks.
Oh, wow. And good battle of our key players before the game, and 2 guys who wear number 10. But right there, I thought Weiss gave him a little tap and a little shove. I thought it was going to be a foul, but not enough contact.
Instead, that's turnover 4 for the Big Red. The lead is at 8, but with the 3-point shooting of Cornell, specifically Morgan and Hatter, you can't count them out. Aaron Young in for Princeton. Bell driving to the rim and scoring. Amir Bell puts on the Jets to get to the 10, 36-26.
Yeah, really expert stuff in terms of the drive, where he recognized exactly where that layup was going to be, and he extended and protected the ball really well. Really, really nice finish by Amir Bell.
Just about a minute left to go. First half. Fallis in the paint, outside, jumper up. That rattles out.
But great drive by Fallis. I mean, that time he went right into the lane, created. His body language looked like he wanted to score, but he was setting somebody up that entire drive. That's what Cornell needs, a little bit more, just playmaking, getting guys shots.
Gladson missing a 3. The run out here for the Big Red. Fallis And we'll get a timeout called by the Big Red as Brian Earl wants to set up something here with 40 seconds left to go before halftime. Stay tuned. Coming up at the half, a special look at Princeton lacrosse star Austin Sims. As the Tigers, certainly with their lacrosse season on the way, an opportunity to get to know one of their players, and always an entertaining run throughout the year for men's lacrosse.
Yeah, I mean, a national power. I mean, you talk about year after year in the hunt to win the national championship. And, you know, as a basketball player here, you get to know those guys, and good group of guys. And you can kind of tell it's Ivy League season because you share the facility with the lacrosse guys. So it's kind of like a ghost town all winter, and then all of a sudden there's 50 dudes, you know, in the training room, in the weight room. And that's exciting because you know you're at the end of your season. Practice times go down. More games. That's what you want as a player. More games and less practice.
10-point lead. Cornell ball in the closing moments of the first half. Warren double team. Fallis driving. Fallis stripped. Lost it to Weiss. And the Tigers can hold for the final shot.
Great D and recovery by Princeton. And then good leadership by Weiss to say, hold on, we got some time.
Bell baseline outside Weiss. He's open for three. Missed it. And that'll cap the half. Spencer Weiss had a good look at a three but couldn't get it to go.
Yeah, and great pass to drive the baseline by Amir Bell, and then looked behind him. Just two guys who know how to play together. I mean, Weiss knew to run behind, and Bell knew to find him. Everything but the finish.
36-26 the score. Princeton able to get out in front despite the shooting of Matt Morgan. We'll have more from Jadwin and a look at Austin Sims of Princeton. Princeton up. Derek Jones and the former Princeton Tiger Noah Savage with you this evening. And Noah, coming into this one, we thought Matt Morgan and Spencer Weiss would have an impact, and they certainly have.
Yeah, for two very smart guys. They're making us look smart for once because we picked the right star players. Matt Morgan, who leads the league in scoring, has done it in multiple ways. From downtown, you expect that. He comes in leading the league with 3 a game. But he did a good job on reads, knowing when to go to the bucket and then when to get his teammates involved. And then Spencer Weiss, who's been on the tear, coming off a 22-point game against Penn at the Palestra. He's been on fire as well. He set a career high last weekend at Dartmouth with 26, and it seems like he's just picking his spots where to pick apart the Big Red defense and shoot it from deep in transition.
Some first half numbers, 42% shooting for the Tigers, counter to 40% for the Big Red. 3-point shooting, a difference maker for the Tigers. As per usual, 6 of 14 from 3. Cornell just 2 of 10.
And both teams share the idea that they don't really care how many threes they put up, how many twos. They're just trying to get a good shot every time, and it doesn't matter if it's 1 second in the shot clock or 29. They're just looking for open, good looks.
Hatter got rid of it. Now they'll work it around the arc. Gettings trying to work against Pete Miller. Turnaround Jay up in the air, missing, just a tad too strong. Weiss rebound.
Yeah, Gettings struggled with a little bit of foul trouble in the first half. I thought he was playing really well. So let's see if he can kind of bounce back from that long stint on the bench.
Stevens checked by Whiteside. Turns left and banks it home.
Nice move. And Coach Henderson wanted the non-verticality right there with the and one. So much strength out of Miles Stevens.
Gettings feeds Whiteside, who banks it in. Troy Whiteside out of Knoxville, Tennessee, with a bucket.
Yeah, Stone's so good at just getting his teammates involved and also getting himself involved.
Miller turns right, has his shot blocked, and the ball went out of bounds. Stays with Princeton. 13 seconds to shoot. Just over a minute gone by here, second half.
And just great job. He did the right thing. You know how often coaches coach that type of defense where you make it hard on the catch, you slide the feet to protect the feet, you keep the hands up and don't foul, and then he gets a block just by standing there and being big.
Weiss missing the three-pointer, grazing the rim. Cornell takes advantage, grabbing the loose ball.
But so few big men do that. And Stone Giddings just did exactly what you want out of your big guy in the post.
Whiteside open. That layup may have been blocked there by Stevens. Weiss has the ball tipped away from him. It's a 3-on-1 for the Big Red. Hatter layup is in.
And those two guards, when you talk about Hatter and Morgan, have a great chemistry. And Morgan did the right thing, just attacking until the defender committed and then dumped it off. They got to do more together. They kind of took turns in the first half.
Stevens gets rid of it. Now Cook. Cook with a layup, just missing. A Whiteside rebound.
Nice D by Morgan right at the end, not to foul. And he threw Cook off its rhythm.
38-30, Princeton lead. Morgan straight on three. Missed it. Ball tapped out, grabbed by Fallis. Whiteside into the paint. Trying to get it in the corner to Giddings. Quick hands by Cook and a steal.
And that's the mental game out of the senior leader, Cook, who leads the league in steals. He knew there was a player in the corner. He couldn't even see who it was, and he just ran into that passing lane and found a steal.
That's his first steal of the game. Cook got some contact there, no whistle. Ahead of the pack is Matt Morgan. He lays it up and in.
Matt Morgan.
The Tigers frustrated at the lack of a whistle there, 38-32.
Yeah, and you never get that call in college, and I don't really know why, but I think Cook was kind of stuck in between. Should he drive or just try to get the contact? Well, you got to get something. When the guy guarding you is 3 feet off the ground, something positive has to happen.
Stevens turning and can't score. Weiss tried to tip it home, couldn't.
Giddings dominating the paint right now for Cornell.
Stutter step in the hesitation and the layup by Matt Morgan.
Matt Morgan.
I mean, that looked like a dribbling drill you do against Orange Cones, a textbook stop and go by Morgan, and no defense at all for Princeton. And Coach Henderson needs to talk it over.
Not pleased with what he is seeing. The lead has been cut down to 4. 38-34 the score. Matt Morgan getting it going here for the Big Red along with Robert Hatter. It's 38-34. We'll have more from Jadwin on the Ivy League Digital Network and ESPN3. Over the Big Red, Derek Jones and Noah Savage with you this evening from Jadwin and the return of former Princeton great Brian Earl. And he's got a lot to live up to in terms of what Cornell has done in previous years.
Yeah, and that Cornell Big Red team was good for 3 or 4 years. It wasn't just the year they went to the Sweet 16, but Coach Steve Donahue, who's now at Penn, has got to bring that Penn program back. He's doing a great job there. And then, of course, Coach Earl, I was a player during his first year ever coaching. We used assistant under Sidney Johnson here. And anybody from the Cornell program who's watching our broadcast can rest easy. You got the right guy. I mean, this is a guy who, he's a legend around Princeton. He's one of the coaches who follows up with you in your life when you leave school, which a lot of coaches say they do, but he actually does. He's one of the most well-liked and well-respected coaches in the entire league. And Coach Earl was actually named the top assistant in the league while he was at Princeton as well. 9 years at Princeton, he did an excellent job. And now he's got the chance to bring Cornell back to those great years where they had unbelievable talent. They had a 7-footer in Jeff Foote. They had Roboleski. Lewis Dale was the player of the year. And then Ryan Whitman sits at the top of the heap of all shooters and many scores in Ivy League history. But if you look in the Cornell record book, he is just at the top of every shooting, every scoring list. Really special teams that he had in the 2000s here at Cornell.
Stevens contested there by Bathurst, the block, and now they're back to it, and they can cut it down to a 1-point game with a 3.
Yeah, Giddings has just dominated this second half for Cornell. Blocks, rebounds, creating.
Giddings to the block right side. Throws to Bathurst.
And Princeton got great action, double teaming in the post at Harvard.
And Hatter hits the 3, and the lead is down to 1, 38-37.
And Giddings just did what the Harvard big men really couldn't do up in Cambridge last weekend, which is he turned and faced, he made the right pass, and then Hatter stepped right into an open 3.
An 11-2 Big Red run. Kennedy tries to cut that down. Can't with a three. And a loose ball taken by the Big Red.
And another great box out by Stone Gettings.
Hatter driving, flips it up and in at the rim, and the Big Red have come all the way back. They lead it 39-38.
And Matt Morgan is leading the cheer on Cornell's bench. Princeton needs to find an answer on the offensive end, and that's the guy they should be playing through is Spencer Weiss, the best playmaker.
Trailed by as much as 12. Kennedy's shot left of the rim contested, and the ball goes out of bounds after Cornell maintaining possession briefly. A big run put together here by the Big Red, 39-38. It's been Matt Morgan, it's been Robert Hatter leading the charge for this Cornell club to get this to a 1-point lead for Cornell. Princeton versus Cornell. More from Jadwin on the Ivy League Digital Network after this. Run by Cornell here to grab a 1-point lead of 39-38. And assuredly that cannot make Mitch Henderson, the head coach of the Princeton Tigers, happy at all. As you see Robert Hatter there, he's been one of the key cogs for this Big Red team though.
Yeah, and Princeton's help has been pretty bad all game, frankly. I mean, the guy who's got the ball typically has been able to get all the way to the cup, and they've been getting it done in transition as well, but credit Hatter with being ready. I mean, right there, pretty good D on the three-point shot, and he's ready to step in, and that was coming off of a great pass by Gettings, who turned and faced the double team and made the right decision. He's been doing everything right for Cornell, especially on the defensive end in the second half.
1-2 punch of Hatter and Morgan paying off so far here in this second half. Hatter has 13. Alec Brennan in for the first time tonight, and he's called for traveling. Normally we see him earlier in the game for Princeton.
Yeah.
Just getting in here right now.
Yeah, and he's been better recently, playing kind of like the stretch four rather than the 5 position. And that time he had a wide open 3, and that's what he does, so shoot it. And I've never believed in the run up and down a few times before you shoot it. If you're in the game and you're open and you're a shooter, shoot the ball.
Hatter flips to Morgan, 3, missed it. And we will get, I believe, a foul here against Princeton. Stone Gettings was trying to grab the ball there, or at least make a move to it.
And Alec Brennan just grabbed him from behind and pretty much stopped the break as Amir Bell was in attack mode. And I like the substitution by Coach Henderson to put Amir Bell in. He's kind of their calming influence. And when Cornell goes on a run, it's good to get Amir Bell in there so he can kind of run the ship and get people in situations where they can be successful.
39-38. Long jumper by Gettings, missing. Still loose, now Cook for Princeton.
And a good decision by Gettings. He read the cutters and then inside pivot, he was the one open.
Bell. Far side for Spencer Weiss, who has been quiet here the last few moments.
It kind of seems like everybody's been quiet for Princeton.
Step back J by Stevens. That draws air.
Their offense has just been completely anemic this second half.
Surprising there. Stevens normally able to get closer to the mark as Gettings drives. Hook shot is good, but a foul first against the Tigers, and that'll be against Alec Brennan, and he picks up 2 right away.
Yeah, Gettings on the post. He's kind of playing that old Patrick Ewing hesitation pound, and he's almost getting away with a carry in there with those rhythm dribbles. But that's what Jeff Foote used to do. I mean, he would just dribble and dribble and dribble till he got the shot he wanted, and he showed good patience. And right there, another 3, close the door. Get on the elevator play right there as 2 players slid together for Cornell. Got a wide open shot for the teammate.
Morgan now with 19, and we'll get a hold here on the other side. As this time Cornell will see Robert Hatter pick up his first foul. And this has been a different second half for the Big Reds so far. They shot poorly from 3 in that first half, just 2 for 10. It's been a different tune thus far as they lead by 4 with 13 minutes left to go. Weiss, 3 ball up, no good. Cook tries to compete for it, can't get it. Hatter with it.
Yeah, Princeton just not recognizing very well on the offensive end. I mean, Gladson, his defender last time, Josh Warren, was completely above him. He had to turn and drive right there. Princeton's just not seeing what's in front of them.
Morgan, catch and shoot three, missed this one. Gladson and a foul. Josh Warren battling with Gladson will be called with a push.
Yeah, right there, no reason to go for that. If you're Warren, you're boxed out. You put pressure on the play, just turn and go down the defensive end. And good big body box out by Will Gladson. So he goes to the bench, and now Coach Henderson going with the 5-guard, 5 lineup, trying to exploit a mismatch here.
Cook throws right for Candy. Candy having trouble with the basketball, looking for it back. Instead, it goes the other way.
And everybody here at Jadwin kind of on the edge of their seat.
Bell's jumper is good.
Yeah,
that slows the run momentarily.
Yeah, right there, the calmest guy in the building hits a shot. But everybody's wondering, is Coach Brian Earl going to be able to get a win in his first visit back to his alma mater, the place where he was for 9 years as an assistant? A ton of his teammates are here tonight, as well as guys that he coached who graduated recently. And everybody's getting kind of tense. What's going on here? Is Cornell really going to do this?
Hatter stops, pops with the left hand, missing. Loose. Stevens has it. Kennedy trying to blow by Morgan, knocked to the floor, slid with a basketball. Nothing called.
Wow.
Ahead for Hatter, laying it up and in, plus the foul. Robert Hatter.
That's the second time we've seen that pass out of Matt Morgan. And it's almost like a backdoor cut in transition. Watch how, when he gets the ball, Hatter is not open really until he waits for him to cut behind Spencer Weiss.
More after this from Jadwin. Cornell up 4. Big Red leading by 4, 44-40. 11:36 remaining from Jadwin. Derek Jones and Noah Savage with you this evening along the Ivy League Digital Network and ESPN3. Taking a look at some of the other scores from the Ivy League. Games in progress. How about Brown? 46-39 lead over Harvard. Yale up by 16 over Dartmouth. Penn off to the worst start in their program's history in Ivy League play, leading Columbia by 4.
Yeah, 3 of the favorites in trouble here as Princeton's also down. But, you know, these teams that are in the bottom half, they're trying to make some noise. There's still a lot of season left. They're trying to get to the Palestra. Of course, we're on the path to Palestra now, Derek, as you know.
Hashtag.
Yeah, hashtag that.
Hatter with 15, 6 of 11 from the field. A strong outing for him. Free throw is up and in. Finishes off the three-point play. And it's a lead of 5 for Cornell at 45-40. And speaking of the path to the Palestra, Cornell, one of those teams, as Stevens missing a 3, the loose ball out to Kennedy and Cook. Baseline for Weiss. Certainly they're in the mix there for that 4th spot at the moment as Weiss drives, can't score, but a couple of free throws on the way for the senior.
And Weiss is in that all YMCA old man game, you know, first teamer, because he just put you on his back you down. He doesn't have a problem taking 8 or 9 dribbles in a row to get the shot that he wants. But Princeton's almost been a little bit asleep at the wheel in the second half, and this is going to sound kind of insane, but sometimes there's too many open options. So you overthink it, you get yourself into trouble, you pass up open shots. When you're playing against a defense that's giving almost nothing up, you know what the right decision is because there's nothing else open. And I think Princeton just kind of got lulled to sleep because early on they were scoring so easily on Cornell. Cornell stepped up the defense, and now Princeton goes, wait a second, we're down? What happened here?
Second one's good. If you're just joining us, Princeton used a 14-2 run to bolster and take away a lead from Cornell, who was up 14-13 in the first half. That run really solidified Princeton's march to a lead at halftime, a double-digit lead, as Whiteside in, missing the shot, a Miller rebound. Cornell has countered big time here in the second half. Bell in the paint, feeds Stevens, layup in. Miles Stevens. And now the Tigers may be getting some of that momentum back. It's a 1-point lead for Cornell.
What a pass off the dribble by Amir Bell. He flipped that. That was almost like an option play.
Nice move by Bathurst.
Right in the back door, right in the middle of a drive. I mean, that is so hard to time up. Cornell not going anywhere.
47-44. Weiss, left of the circle. Now has to back up. Tries a three. Missed it. Tracked down by Bathurst.
Yeah, Warren did a good job right there to contest that three and make it tough on Weiss.
Weiss 3 of 8 now from 3. Halfway through half 2. 47-44 the edge for Cornell. Trying to shock the Tigers. Hatter hopping in the lane, and that ball goes out of bounds off of Princeton. 7 to shoot.
I like that offensive action for Cornell. You've got Hatter and Morgan on one side and playing off each other. So if they're screening for each other, that's dangerous because they're both three-point shooters. They can both drive it, and they're playing off the center. So Warren was kind of the point guy there. But I like that action. You have the two scorers on the same side, and now Gettings is going to be the guy in that position as he comes into the game.
Morgan, an air ball off the 3 attempt. Weiss finds Candy stepping into a 3. Got it. We are tied at 47. Devin Kennedy, the sophomore, giving the Tigers a lift.
Yeah, Kennedy.
Nearly stolen. Now it is stolen. Bell. And now Weiss with a hesitation to the left baseline. In the corner, Stevens 3, missed it. Weiss offensive board, new possession. And Kennedy now will back it out.
Yeah, there's many times when Kennedy would have launched that 3 right there.
Kennedy in and scores. Devin Kennedy slipping that one by Stone Gettings to give Princeton a lead back at 49-47. And Brian Earl wants to talk it out. (49-47) as Devin Kennedy getting things going for Princeton.
Yeah, it's a welcome sight for Princeton as Kennedy, the superstar who came onto campus scoring the second he stepped foot on campus, but lately he's been pretty bad from the field, frankly. I mean, 2 for 11, 3 for 11. He went 0 for 8 at Harvard, just 2 for 6 at Penn. When he's himself, he's a guy who hits anywhere from 3 to 7 threes. He's explosive. We saw him have heroics late in the season last year where he, was unbelievable. That's what Princeton kind of expects out of him. If he can bring that type of shooting to the table, Princeton's going to be even more dangerous than they've been.
They are going to need a lift from somebody here to hold off Cornell over the next 8:49. He has 10 points, 3 of 6 from the field, 5 rebounds as well.
He went 7 for 9 for 3 against Brown. And then since then, it's been a little shooting slump, but he's explosive.
Errant pass there, and Kennedy with it. Hatter will report back in. Miller, nice look to Spencer Weiss, who lays it in. He got loose down low, gets the layup, 4-point edge for the Tigers.
Yeah, that makes life easy. When the defense gets tight, you cut back door, you screen and slip, and you get easy layups, and that's what makes the defense loosen up. They have to respect those cuts.
Cornell led by 5 a few moments ago, 45-40. The Tigers have flipped it, up by 4, 51-47. Bathurst with a drive to cut it to 2.
Yeah, Bathurst has been really good lately, some double-figure games. I think 5 of the last 6, and that time he just took advantage of a smaller player.
Kennedy.
Now this is better movement, better ball movement, better player movement for Princeton.
Shot clock to 10. Weiss in the lane, drives and scores. Weiss getting in the groove again here in the second half.
He froze Gettings with those long, lean steps.
And Bathurst attacks the rim, gets fouled, 2 free throws on the way. Back and forth play here at Jadwin Gymnasium. Princeton finding themselves up by 4. It's a foul by Amir Bell coming out of the media timeout to put Bathurst on the line as the Big Red and the Tigers locked up in a good one here at Jadwin. More headed your way from Jadwin. Stay tuned. Jones and Noah Savage with you. Princeton leading it by 4, 53-49. Just under 8 minutes left to go as Mitch Henderson trying to get his team to finish out what would be a 10th win in a row, and his success continues here at Princeton, though.
Yeah, and he's really the one thing he's got left to do is win the championship as a coach and then go into the NCAA tournament. But everything else has just been fantastic. He inherited a good team after Coach Johnson left, and then he brought in his own guys, and they've kind of shifted away from that traditional Princeton offense. They've put in a more up-tempo style, but still some of those tenets, the passing, the moving, the ball movement, and kind of his prototypical players you can see when you look at Steve Cook and you look at Spencer Weiss, especially because he's gotten them to buy into the type of defense they want him to play, getting steals, the assists, the way that they value the basketball and don't turn it over. And Coach Henderson's going to be a guy where, you know, anybody who has a big year in the Ivy League, the rumors start to swirl. Oh, is he going to leave? Is he going somewhere else? And you never know, but he's certainly done a fantastic job here at Princeton.
2 by Bathurst, 2-point game. Stevens outside, Cook right corner 3, missed it. And a Gettings rebound. Mentioning Coach Henderson, we haven't talked too much about one of the other gentlemen returning here this evening, and that's Donovan Williams, who is an assistant now. As that ball batted out of bounds into the backcourt, he's an assistant with Cornell. He was only here at Princeton for 1 season, sitting next to Brian Earl to Coach Earl's left.
And it's someone who we got to spend a lot of time with on the road, and certainly with post-game interviews and the like. And that's kind of an underrated part of becoming a new head coach is you got to get your staff together. And is it going to be which one of your guys do you bring in? Who do you keep on the staff from the last administration, so to speak, so you have continuity for the Princeton Tigers? And when Coach Henderson came to Princeton, Coach Earl stayed. And I'm sure he had opportunities to maybe go somewhere else, but that was a big decision that meant a lot to the players on the team that, all right, we got a new guy with Coach Henderson, but we've got the continuity from Coach Earl.
High arcing 3 went halfway down.
Wow.
From Morgan and then rattled out. That would have given Cornell a lead at 54-53. Instead, the Tigers are still up by 2. Stevens driving with the left hand and scoring. Miles Stevens. He is actually leading Princeton in scoring in Ivy League games this season. He's been somewhat quiet tonight. Hatter attacking and scoring the other way. Robert Hatter.
I mean, some really, really great finishes on both sides. First, Stevens off the left foot with the left hand, shoots a layup from pretty far away, able to bank it in, and then Hatter comes right back at him.
In the corner, now Bell outside, 3-ball up, missed it.
Wow.
Cook flying in, the offensive rebound and a stick back.
The impossible dream, he came out of the rafters. And that's the type of rebound he had up at Harvard and put the game winner back in. I mean, if he's not the best leaper in the whole league, he's up there. What a rebound by Cook.
Shades of last Saturday, the shot by Hatter missing, leading to this Princeton possession.
And hopefully for Princeton, that'll kind of ignite their energy and inspire their motivation here on the offensive end.
Cook on the drop. Got popped.
He got crushed.
And that ball out of bounds. It will go back over to Princeton.
And look at this from the bottom of your screen out of nowhere. There he comes. What a board. Now, if he had just turned and dunked that with 2 hands off vertical, it's time to just leave the gym with your hand held high. That would have been the next level of athleticism.
Off to Bell, missed, batted outside. Cook and the Tigers with a new shot clock. One thing to note about that play Cook made last Saturday to win the game for the Tigers, the first time he went on the attack after the rebound, he got stripped.
Yeah, he got stripped and somewhat clobbered, and then he made it to the other side of the hoop and somehow got his rebound.
Cook getting to it. Gettings with the block, and now we'll get a whistle here against the Tigers.
And Cook has been active in terms of getting to the bucket, but his finishing's just been a little off. He's been in those in-between shots where he doesn't know if he's going to go glass or go right in with the teardrop.
For Cook tonight, 7 points. That foul, by the way, Pete Miller, his second. Team foul 5, 4:40 left. 4-point game. Morgan to the rim, and he's fouled.
And a makeable layup even with the foul for Morgan. You know he wants that one back, but he showed a good burst right there. He's had some good dribble moves where just a little look at the shot is enough to get around his defender.
19 points tonight. And you see right there the effectiveness, 20 of 21 this season in double figures, including 34 earlier this year against Northeastern. Warren out. Gettings will take a breather. Morgan once again in double figures tonight. This would be point 21. He's got it. He had 20 last year in the loss here at Jadwin against the Tigers, but a far different 20. This one has some punch behind it tonight.
And it's still a 2-point game. Princeton needs to be really smart about where they get their offense right now. Play through their playmakers and let the finishers finish.
Weiss to the left side. Up and in. Spencer Weiss.
And that's the guy you want the ball in his hand if you're a Princeton fan. Such a good decision maker. Of course, he had that trademark game earlier this year. We had 13 assists, which is so impressive in a college game. That's a ton of assists because half the good passes you throw in college, the guy misses the shot, as we see a travel here.
Josh Warren called for steps with a basketball in the low post.
But if you have 13 or 14, 15 assists in a college game, that's almost like having 20 in the NBA because of all the good decisions you're making that don't get rewarded. And he's really turned on the scoring lately in the league play.
Under 4, it's a 4-point lead for Princeton. Cook handing off to Belt. A lot of side-to-side movement for the Tigers. Shot clock to 9. Cook drives and scores. Steve Cook with the right hand to get the lead to 6. 61-55, 3:30 left.
And for any high school coach out there still teaching right foot or wrong foot, look at all the layups that guys make with the right hand off the right foot or the left hand off the left foot in this game. It's really sprint to the bucket as fast as you can, jump off whatever leg, and finish.
Hatter crossing over, falling down, baseline left. The drive and a foul that will bail out the Big Red as Jack Gordon on the move.
And you got to have a clock in your head. And when it gets under 10, as a defensive player, you go, don't foul, don't foul, don't foul.
The Tigers up by 6, 61-55. Come on back to Jadwin. We've got a good one. 61-55 the score. Princeton up by 6. 3:05 remaining from Jadwin. Derek Jones and Noah Savage with you this evening. The Ivy League standings this season as we get closer and are on the path to the Palestra. The Tigers with that 6-0 mark, 9 wins in a row for them. Yale 5-1, and then Noah after that. You have that cluster building up a little bit.
Yeah, Brown, Cornell, pretty much the whole bottom of the league can still do it. It's going to be an improbable for Penn, but they still feel like they can get it done. And the top part of the league is so strong. I mean, Columbia, I had a chance to watch them play in person 2 games a couple weeks ago. They are so strong, and Luke Petrasek really has improved leaps and bounds. 6'10", lefty, he can shoot it. They've got some great guard play as well, and then Yale is just stacked. And Harvard at this point with 2 losses, everybody's pretty much shocked that they have that many losses already. They are so loaded with big-time talent.
Gordon with 2 perhaps critical misses. 50% shooter on the year from the line. Stevens and 1. Miles Stevens.
Great play call by Coach Henderson coming out of that timeout. As you know, that you've got to respect Stevens' shooting ability, and then when you run a guy off him, just that tiny bit of hesitation and you're dead. I mean, you can't play that close to an athlete like Miles Stevens. He's going to put you on his hip and be able to jump over you. Great execution by Princeton down the stretch.
Stevens, a little bit of a struggle from the field as he misses the free throw. It was 4 of 11 from the field before that bucket. 14 points again. As mentioned earlier, he leads the Tigers in scoring in Ivy League games, averaging about 15 points per. Bathurst driving, can't get it to go, but a couple of free throw opportunities to try to cut this down. It's an 8-point lead after the foul by Kennedy, a couple of free throws for Bathurst.
Yeah, great recognition by Bathurst. They tried to post Stone Gettings inside, and this is what basketball is all about. You have a plan, but it's not set in stone. And Bathurst, he looked in, he got a reaction out of his defender, then swept through and took the paint.
Bathurst missing badly on that first free throw attempt. Off to the left. He'll get one more. Gets that one. 63-56, 2.5 left. Cornell has put together quite an effort here tonight to hang with the Tigers. We'll see if they have enough to draw even once again.
Now, Princeton needs to learn from the Atlanta Falcons in the Super Bowl and not go until there's under 10 on the shot clock the rest of the game.
Weiss can't get it to go. Hatter with a rebound.
And right then, even a little early. I mean, he should have started that move about 4 seconds later than he did.
Hatter spinning outside. Hatter looking for help to the top of the key. Against Kennedy. Has his shot blocked there, and Kennedy taking it away for Princeton.
Yeah, what doesn't Spencer Weiss do for Princeton? Huge block and nice help. Perfect timing from the senior.
A whistle here, and I believe this is a foul coming up against Gordon.
Right here. Weiss times it up, and then comes right at the last second for the block on Hatter and lets Devin Kennedy clean up the mess.
The Tigers, because of the lineup and the size of their team at certain times, not known for blocking shots, but they have a lot of athletic players who can do that, and you saw it there with Weiss.
Yeah, and they're just plain old big at every position, which lets them switch 4 players and switch 5 players at times.
And that ball going into the backcourt, and it's a backcourt violation against the Tigers. And Noah, you just mentioned the Atlanta Falcons there. Those are some of the mistakes they made in terms of execution. The Tigers with a little bit of an unforced error.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. That wasn't tough pressure. That Cornell really didn't do anything right there. That was just plain old-fashioned screw-up by Princeton that threw it in the backcourt.
1:29 left to go. 63-56. The Tigers, after the game here this evening, will welcome in Columbia. And then after that, they go to the road. This is in fact their only home weekend during the month of February.
Yeah, and this is it. I mean, this is what you wait for all season, the Friday night, the Saturday night, and Columbia, Yale, Brown, and then Columbia again. That's a 4-game stretch that is really tough for Princeton. And, you know, they look at this game tonight like not an easy game, but a game that they think, okay, we should win this game. And then tomorrow Columbia is probably the tougher one out of the 2. And right now, Coach Henderson trying to use this as a teaching moment where he says, we need to execute down the stretch. We need to know how to play with a lead. Remember, if you have a 7-point lead with 1:29 left to go down at the Palestra, you're playing for it all. You're playing for a chance to go to the big dance. They need to train themselves emotionally and mentally to handle the situation and execute what the coach draws up.
And that's a fantastic point, because we've seen so many times this year where, you know, in pre-Ivy League play, it was a little bit reversed where they were in chase mode a lot, and now the other way around, you have to protect the lead.
Yeah, in some ways, it's almost harder to play with the lead because when you're playing from behind, you're just freewheeling. You know, you got nothing left to lose. You're firing up shots, you're firing up prayers, they're going in. It's definitely a skill closing out games. And a key is going to be hitting free throws down the stretch. And we know that Princeton has some guards, and you look at Cook and Weiss, who have a little bit of weakness in that area.
Whiteside to the rim and in. Troy Whiteside scoring. It's 63-58. Whiteside with 8. Cornell, by the way, will head to the Palestra to take on Penn. That game, and we'll get a timeout here from Coach Henderson, that game will actually not take place until Sunday.
30 seconds.
Coach Henderson gathering the troops. Noah, Miles Stevens has been big for the Tigers here down the stretch.
Yeah, and it's exploiting mismatches. He's been able to get it on the post, great footwork with the drop step, and then on the drive, there's been a number of great finishes on both sides, and that time over 2 guys. But that's the thing that makes him special is that once he makes the right play, he's got the strength and athleticism to finish it off where you don't need to spend hours in the gym working on his post game because he brings that naturally. And he's a guy who came off the bench earlier in the season and has exploded into that primary role. He's a guy that Coach Henderson says could potentially be eventually the best player in the entire league.
Well, you look at his performance since the departure of Henry Caruso insertion into the starting lineup. You think sometimes maybe it would take a guy maybe an extended period of time to get in the flow of having his role change, but that really hasn't happened.
Well, they're really similar. They're both can shoot the three, but probably would rather put it on the floor first. They can post up right around 6'6", super athletes.
Thrown in for Kennedy. 1 minute left. Stevens,
1 minute remaining.
a foul.
And right there, Cornell trying to trap because you can't foul Kennedy, who is amongst the leaders in the entire country in free throw percentage. And he's shooting 93% in conference games this year from the free throw line.
Gordon fouls out. That's his 5th. Bonus time for both teams. It's a 1-on-1 situation each side.
Right, and you got to try, again, great coaching. I mean, we've been talking about the coaches all night. But Steve Cook shoots 65%, White shoots 62%, and Miles Stevens shoots 60%. So they waited for the guy who's shooting 91%, Devin Kennedy, to give it up before they foul a guy who's going to give you a better chance to get a miss.
Front end of a 1-on-1, and there you go. The rebound taken, and now Cornell will try to cut into the deficit, down 5. Morgan lost his footing, lost the ball, out of bounds, Princeton ball.
And that's another thing that Amir Bell brings to the game at 6'5", the point guard, sliding the feet, and just being big and bothering. But Morgan did the right thing to go to the bucket. He was trying to get a 2 here. And right there, a little contact, could have been a little bit of a block, but good D by Amir Bell.
Candy with the basketball. Gets down the floor to Amir Bell, now up top for Weiss. Back over to Aaron Young, and they'll foul. 37 seconds left to go, and again, to your point, Noah, clearly they don't really want to foul Devin Kennedy.
Yeah, they can't. I mean, he's money from the line. He was in the top 10 in the country for a while, and he has enough attempts this week. The other guy from the league who's in the top 5, Luke Petrosic, the big man from Columbia, has just been sensational. He never misses. And Aaron Young came into the game to be the specialist and get it done from the free throw line. He's an unbelievable shooter. Comes into the game with only 4 free throw attempts on the season.
Second one, that's good. Both teams in a 1-on-1 situation, both teams with 8 team fouls with 37 seconds left to go. And Young will head out.
Right now, if you're Cornell, go right to the bucket. 37 seconds left to go. You got to go to the bucket. If you're Princeton, switch everything, help, and don't foul.
Morgan to the rim and scores. Impressive. Matt Morgan with a quick score. And this time Kennedy is fouled by JoJo Fallis.
Well, Princeton got lucky on that inbounds. All 4 players who weren't inbounding the ball were underneath the free throw line. As we take a look at that great finish, could have even been an and one, as not sure that Spencer Weiss was completely vertical there. But Princeton needs to get some guys at half court, spread it out, send somebody long. You can't have everybody sprint to the ball in the inbound.
Kennedy taking a deep breath before this free throw attempt. The first one is good. 11 points now for the sophomore. And Noah, you mentioned some of his shooting struggles. Can a game like this kind of turn him around and get him going again?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's so strange that a great shooter like Devin Candy can even go through those struggles, but all it takes is one game. Charge.
A player control foul there as Amir Bell takes one right in the gut there. And the foul will be picked up by Morgan. Team foul 10, 28 seconds left to go. Tigers up by 7. And time, the enemy of the Big Red.
And Amir Bell, when Princeton won at Harvard, the Princeton players in the dramatic win that they had were kind of hogpiling on each other and celebrating. And Amir Bell just waved his hand like, don't do all that. We expected to win. He is so cool under pressure, so measured in what he does to win, and took a huge charge right there that pretty much sealed this game for Princeton.
The Tigers, with this win, should they hold on in the next 24 seconds, it will be win 10 in a row. The 9 wins in a row, the most for the Tigers since the 2010-11 season, when they won 9 in a row starting in January of 2011, went into the month of February.
But if you look at Cornell's schedule on the other side, so many close losses. This is more of the same for them. The 4-point loss against Columbia, then they had a 6-point loss to Harvard, then they had an 11-point loss, and then a 7-point loss. They're right there. I mean, they're just a couple plays away in each half, and they're right in this game.
Hatter 3 missing with 18 seconds left. Tigers basketball. Off of Candy, now Stevens and Weiss will cross the midcourt line, and that will just about do it. Homecoming for Brian Earl. It's Mitch Henderson who gets the win, as the Tigers win for the 10th time in a row this season and improve to 7-0 in Ivy League play, 14-6 after a 69-60 win over the Cornell Big Red. The Tigers utilizing some key plays to grab the victory, including 21 by Spencer Weiss. We'll have the post-game wrap headed your way on ESPN3 and the Ivy League Digital Network.